Ever pondered over how to paint a vivid picture of a city using English? Well, today, we delve into the world of collocations that beautifully describe towns and cities. Imagine looking at a city from a distance. The first thing that usually catches your eye is the city skyline. This term refers to the outline of buildings, towers, and structures against the sky. For instance, the city skyline of New York is iconic with its towering skyscrapers. Now let's zoom in. A sprawling city refers to a city that covers a large area, often spreading out in all directions. Picture this. Los Angeles is a sprawling city, spreading for miles with diverse neighborhoods. In these cities, you'll often find high-rise flats. These are tall residential buildings with many floors. For example, the high-rise flats in Hong Kong house thousands of people. Among these structures, you might spot an imposing building. This term is used to describe a building that is very large and impressive. For instance, the imposing building of the City Hall stood tall among the rest. But not all buildings are in pristine condition. Some might be run-down buildings, which are buildings in poor condition because they haven't been cared for. Picture this. The neighborhood was full of run-down buildings, a stark contrast to the city center. In contrast, quaint old buildings refer to old yet charming and attractive buildings. For instance, the quaint old buildings in the French Quarter give New Orleans its unique charm. In some cities, you might encounter shanty towns. These are areas where poor people live in makeshift houses. For instance, the shanty towns in Rio de Janeiro are a stark reminder of the city's wealth disparity. Now, let's talk about the inner city. This term refers to the area near the center of a city, often associated with social and economic problems. For instance, the inner city of Detroit has been struggling with unemployment and crime. Some parts of a city might be a no-go area, a place that is too dangerous or unpleasant to visit. For example, after dark, the park becomes a no-go area. Likewise, a deprived area refers to a poor area where people do not have the basic things they need. For example, the deprived area on the city's outskirts lacks basic healthcare facilities. But not all parts of a city are deprived. Some people live in a comfortable suburb, a quiet area outside the city where life is good. For instance, she grew up in a comfortable suburb, far removed from the city's hustle and bustle. In these suburbs, you might find an upmarket shop, a shop that sells high-quality, expensive goods. For instance, the street was dotted with upmarket shops selling designer clothes. Similarly, a pricey or overpriced restaurant is a restaurant where the food is expensive, sometimes excessively so. For instance, the Upmarket Shop was next to a pricey restaurant known for its gourmet cuisine. On a brighter note, a Pavement Café is a cafe with tables on the pavement outside. Imagine this. The Pavement Café was bustling with people enjoying the sunny weather. These pavement cafes often have a relaxed atmosphere, a feeling that the place is calm and comfortable. For instance, despite its location in the city center, the cafe had a surprisingly relaxed atmosphere. Let's stroll down the cobbled streets. These are streets paved with cobblestones. For instance, the cobbled streets of Rome echo with centuries of history. Speaking of streets, a street runs means a street goes in a certain direction. For example, the street runs parallel to the river. Now imagine a street is lined with something. This phrase describes what you can see all along both sides of a street. For instance, the street is lined with cherry blossom trees. Another great example would be Kingsway Street is lined with shops. Unfortunately, some streets be strewn with litter, meaning they are covered with litter. For instance, the park was strewn with litter after the concert. In contrast, tree-lined avenues are streets with trees along both sides. For instance, the tree-lined avenues in the suburb were a sight for sore eyes. In some cities, you might find an urban wasteland, an unused area of land in a city where buildings have been demolished. For instance, the urban wasteland has become a canvas for graffiti artists. And of course, we can't forget about volume of traffic and bumper-to-bumper traffic. These phrases describe the amount of traffic in a traffic jam where cars are so close together that their bumpers are almost touching. For instance, the volume of traffic in downtown Los Angeles is high during rush hour, often leading to bumper-to-bumper traffic. The exhaust fumes from cars are the gases that are released into the air when a car's engine is running. For example, the exhaust fumes from the heavy traffic were overwhelming. Lastly, the incessant roar refers to the constant loud noise in a city, often from traffic. For instance, The incessant roar of traffic is a constant in New York City. In summary, we have journeyed through various collocations that describe cities, from the city skyline to the incessant roar of traffic. Each of these phrases paints a vibrant picture of urban life, helping you to convey your experiences and observations of cities more effectively. So the next time you want to describe a city, remember these collocations and use them to bring your story to life.